started with this gentleman on the side here, Braden Aftergood, reached out to me and discussed this idea of doing a doc on Sly. And he saw some of the films I had made with Bruce Springsteen. And one of the initial things was a connection with Braden and Sly in this moment where we just started to talk about Sly's life. And I realized that Sly had a lot of energy. And that gave me the first idea on how to approach this film. Just let him talk, have it be a conversation.
He seems like such an intimidating figure, but he's really so thoughtful and introspective. This was your first time meeting him, right? For working on the film. What was that like? Did you feel intimidated the first time finally meeting Sylvester Stallone? And how did that weave its way into like you making the film?
I don't know, did I seem intimidated? You were there. You were there the first time. So.
You seemed like a seasoned veteran. You spent the better part of your career running around with Bruce Springsteen.
I think I was really lucky that I had this team with me and the group of people because I was able to think about things outside of his celebrity and try to tackle a story that every day I was learning more and more about Sly's life, and it went beyond what I was reading and what was available. One of the key things is that Braden works with Sly, so we would have conversations. And in the doc, you can see there's cassettes at one point, and that was just something that Braden had mentioned to me that was in Sly's office, and I prompted him, and spontaneously he went into it. So there was like small details like that we all collaborated in. Sean Stuart, my producer, we're in the room and with my cinematographer, Justin Kane, we created an environment that wasn't a traditional doc. He wasn't locked in a chair. And how many days did we do?
Yeah, great. I'll take that question. Anybody that worked on the movie know how many days it was? No, it was. Thom was really great at pulling that energy out of Sly and letting him kind of move and freely, kinetically, kind of just have these moments. And we would turn to ourselves at the end of every day. One of the lines that sticks with me, and I've probably quoted too many times to too many people, is about life being subtractive after 40. But we would leave these days of shooting and there's stuff on the cutting room floor that is so impactful. Everything out of his mouth was poetic and powerful and intriguing. And it was like a master class in life, just being around him constantly. And the intimidation kind of starts to fall away at that point. And you just start to see this person who's an absolute sage and has lived so many lives and has so much to offer.
So speaking of the team, I understand we have some other members of our team out in the audience.
Yeah, I have to, there's a lot of people here who, it's a journey that you don't take by yourself. There's the cinematographer, Justin Kane, who I mentioned, captured Sly in his environment in this beautiful way and just was an amazing collaboration, understanding how to take on all these different locations, how to be spontaneous, and also just create a cinematic language for the doc that could go in and out of Sly's world, his home, these environments. Adrian Gerard, who is my co-producer, and Marin, they were essential in the team, just helping me build this story, getting the details of Sly's life. And Tyler Strickland, who's here, I have to thank, he composed the film's music. And I think that was a journey. You can talk about that. Sly has a rhythm and a way of speaking that it's just not an easy film to score. And I think he really captured the emotional journey for me and in a way I'm truly grateful. So, but this is an experience like no other doc I've made. I feel like the team that worked with me, we just kind of jumped onto the train that's Sly and tried to hold on and keep up. And he had so many different ideas he was throwing at us, and his life itself was so powerful.
So this film is, transition is such an important theme in it because we have the transition that Sly is going through at this stage in his life, but then also literally the house, it's embodied through the moving all of this stuff out of the house, going to a new place. Can you talk a little bit about working those two elements together, from the physical to the mental, and then also what it was like shooting in the house amidst that move. I can't imagine it was easy.
I want to give that to Braden because he was essential in telling me these small life details. He'd call me up in the middle of the night and say, Sly's moving. I think there's something there. Sly's got tape, so.
At some point, I went up to the house and was having a meeting with Sly about something completely unrelated, and all of his shit was in boxes. And it's not normal stuff like you and I would ultimately move. Like I was walking past a box, and there was this thing, and I was like, what is that? And he said, that's the key to Rome. Like, it's pretty significant. And so at a certain point, we realized that he was going to be moving. We realized that he didn't know what the fuck to do with the statue, which is, you all know the statue. It's sitting in his office. Where is it going to go? It's giant. How many people are we going to need to move it? But what was really interesting is that it's not just that stuff, and you see it in the documentary. We're boxing up maquettes and we're boxing up statues, but we're also boxing up like mugs that say "Happy Father's Day, Dad." And so it doesn't take the smartest person alive to realize that this is a wonderful metaphor for life. Literally, what is important to me? What do I want to bring with me to the next house? And what do I want to throw away? And so the moment that sort of started to coalesce, it became a dream of a framing device. We couldn't ask for anything better.
So one of the fascinating parts about the film is the archival footage that you've gathered together. You're literally in conversation with Sly when you're interviewing him now, but you're also in conversation with him through this footage. Can you tell us how you sourced it and what you were looking for specifically?
I have to throw it back to the people that work with me. Adrian especially was deeply obsessed, and also, I made this film at Netflix with Dan Silver, and I was surrounded by people who understood Sly's legacy, but also, in many ways, what's been out there before, and I could hear their responses just to some of the material, and we had this way of looking at the footage that we didn't want anything to be too iconic and to take you out of this personal story. And for me, the most important archive I got actually was from Sylvester Stallone, which was at the end of the film, he is with his father. And that moment of that archive for me was great as a filmmaker because it demonstrated this conversation we were having, this trust, and also it just gave me a way of visually showing how complex that relationship was and how it wasn't one-sided. There was this moment of love. So in searching for archive, you try to stay close to your story, and with this story, I think there's a lot of footage of him out there, but we were trying to find those things that get lost, those details that get lost, those images or stills.
So one of the great things about the films that Sylvester Stallone makes is the cast that he works with. Talia Shire, Henry Winkler, Burt Young, who recently passed away, and you do such a fantastic job of bringing those people also to support him in this film. Can you tell us about that whole process and working with those great talents?
Talia, you could talk about Talia. Okay.
I think we got really lucky. We were able to, between Henry Winkler and Talia Shire and some of these characters, you have to, and Thom did a great job as a director, listening to his subject and to understand which people were crucial, which people were important to the narrative, who was most impactful in Sly's life, and then we were able to get those people on camera. Again, Thom approached them in the same way he was approaching Sly, which was with this kinetic energy of we're not going to harness you to a chair. We're going to let you move around. We're going to let you talk. And this energy grew out of each interview where they were able to kind of feel free and not chained to a seat. And again, I think that helps people and helped these people really kind of give us that next level of insight into who Sly was to them. And a lot of times with these celebrities, you end up getting the canned answers. They've been saying it for 50 years. They know exactly what they say. They have their talking points. But it felt this time like we were actually getting a layer deeper, which was really exciting for the film.
So I want to throw this question over to Braden and ask, so you work at Balboa Productions. What is it like working with Stallone from that perspective?
Exhausting. Here's the thing about Sylvester Stallone. He never lived a normal life. Do you know what I mean? So up until like age 30, he was, destitute and borderline homeless, living above a bus depot. And then from 30 on, he was the most famous man in the world. So gravity doesn't exist. Do you know what I mean? And waiting for things doesn't exist. He's spent the better part of his life manifesting things. And that's the other thing about Sly. Obviously, what this documentary is a testament to is that he just puts his mind to something and then he accomplishes it, right? So he expects that. If he has a thought, if he has an idea, he just expects that it's going to be manifested, either manifested by him or manifested by the creative team around him.
By Braden.
And so it is wonderful because you're constantly reminded that we can accomplish anything, and also exhausting because you're constantly being challenged to accomplish everything.
So speaking of challenges, Thom, what did you find to be most challenging when creating the film? And was there anything that you was unexpected that you confronted, like, oh, I didn't expect this to occur in making the film?
I think this was the toughest film for me to find a place for score. And again, I reference the beautiful work that Tyler did, because Sly's voice had a musicality and a rhythm that was like no other film I worked on. So I felt like for a bit of time it was a struggle to stay in the space with Sly and not interfere with his rhythm. And it was really until Tyler came in and worked his magic with producing the score this way. It was really a hard process. It was not traditional, and the cut itself was really tricky because the stories I was chasing and the editing was very, very intense. So it was a very different film, intense in a way that I wanted to unpack certain details and certain things I didn't want to go into every film. But at the same time, I wanted to chase the themes that I saw in his work and themes I saw in his childhood.
So I want to close with a question I want to pose to all three of you, which is, what is your favorite Sylvester Stallone performance?
Braden?
I gotta just play the hits here. Like, there's nothing better than what I'm gonna say. Rambo 2, First Blood Part 2, which we were literally just speaking about, and I will tell you why. Obviously, we know that First Blood is a great movie, right? And obviously, with First Blood Part 2, it grew maybe increasingly heightened, increasingly sort of comic booky. There's a moment at the very end of the movie as Sly, and anybody who's seen First Blood Part 2 is going to remember this because it's indelibly in your mind. He's walking across the tarmac. He's like 2.5% body fat. He's like glistening. And he's like, every muscle is somehow flexing all at the same time. And he walks to that helicopter and he delivers this extraordinary soliloquy. This is where he says, I just wish that, our country would love us the way that we love it. And it's so dramatic. And it's, and if he was, wearing a shirt, he probably would be getting a lot more credit for what an extraordinary performance it is. And I think that is the genius of Sylvester Stallone. No matter what scenario he is in, whether a building is exploding or whether he's just having a really heartfelt conversation with his wife, he is bringing a level of pathos that is almost unexpected for what it is you're watching.
When Thom and I started this process, I immediately outed myself, and my favorite, beyond Rocky and the obvious, my favorite Sly performance is the movie Cliffhanger, which didn't make it into this movie, and holds up to the test of time. I rewatched it with my 8-year-old son about 6 months ago, and it was a good popcorn night.
I think that I've had this journey with all the films. I would fall in love with all different years, all different genres, and lately I've been in a Copland mode, and it must be that I'm saying goodbye to the film in some ways, and it's going, because that's just that film. I saw it when it first came out, and now I understand so much more about the artist and the man having the experience of making this film. So I've gone to Copland and just marveled at that performance. And it's also part of a certain journey in my editing, so Copland would be the one.